thoughts, or the six philosophies that we have in our Eastern philosophy. Now, philosophy is called darshan. Darshan means to see. So why is it called darshan? Because the way we see things, that is, when we see things, we can connect with them. We can connect with them. We can join with them. We can possess them. We can be connected with them. In the same way, darshan means to connect, which is very tangible. So yoga is a path through which we connect with the divine. Okay, so this divine can be connected. The divine, or the one which is beyond our senses, which is beyond our mind, which is beyond our intellect and the ego, which is beyond our perception, that self, or that supreme entity. That supreme entity can be connected, can be known. We can be connected with them, and when we know them, when we know him, or that, we see that we are that. So yoga is a means by which I can get connected with that divine. Now, this yoga is divided into two parts. I think you know all this. Just to come, how to make our subject relevant. So it's basically divided into two parts. The one part is called Hatha Yoga, and the other is Patanjali Yoga. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, we basically talk about, when we talk about the Yoga Sutras, it's the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Now, Patanjali has given these 8 limbs of yoga, and these 8 limbs are also within these sutras. That is yama, niyama, yam, niyam, asan, pranayama, pratyahar, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So, we start from yama. But we have to end at samadhi. If we do not end at samadhi, then our understanding of yoga, our learning of yoga is not complete. So we have to start from, yama, niyama, and asan, pranayam, pratyahar. These five are making our mind and our body, suitable for this journey towards the infinite. Because when we want to go towards the journey towards the, when we want to commence our journey towards the infinite, we need a very special kind of body. We need a very special kind of mind, a special kind of intellect, a special kind of attitude, a special kind of resolution, very strong, very firm, which is, unshattering, which is, unwavering. It cannot be wavered, it cannot be perturbed. It should always be there. It should always be there and very strong. So, this yama, niyama, asan, pranayama, and pratyahar, they make this, they make our mind, our body very strong, and, suitable to, commence this journey towards yoga. And then the real yoga starts from dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Dhara means to contemplate. When we talk about the self, when we talk about yoga, so what is yoga? What is the definition of yoga? It says yujjate anena iti yoga. One by which we can join different parts. There are many parts. There are different parts scattered around. So to join them together, to come to unity, to come to that one existence, to come to that common point, to come to that unity is called yoga. So there is something called unity, but we don't see unity. There's always diversity. Whenever we see our mind, we see that it's all diverse. There are thoughts. Like the first aphorism. Aphorism means sutra. Sutra means, minimum words, maximum meaning. Maximum essence, maximum knowledge in minimum words is called aphorism. It's called sutras. Like, it's very small. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. This is enough. This is enough for the entire life. You don't need anything more. If you can just, if you can just, if you can just derive it. What is this yoga chitta vritti nirodha? You will see your entire life will go, and you can just derive it. You can just derive it. You can extend it everywhere. Everywhere. And by this, you have attained, you can attain the real essence of life. You can attain the real, reality of life, the real essence of life, the real peace, the real bliss, the real joy and happiness of living a life. You can attain by, understanding this word, yoga chitta vritti nirodha. So this is the first aphorism. Now, when we talk about yoga, it means that we need to come into the state of, or we need to attain the state of samadhi. Because, dharana means contemplation. It starts from contemplation. Contemplation of that which cannot be contemplated. Perception of that entity which is imperceptible. Explanation of that which cannot be explained at all, which cannot be talked about, which cannot be explained, which cannot be understood, which cannot be contemplated, which cannot be perceived. So while you do this, while you know that we are dealing with a subject which cannot be contemplated at all, still it can be contemplated. How? Because when we talk about yoga, this word yoga was found in certain Upanishads. And among them, Kathopanishad is one of them. Kathopanishad, Shweta Upanishad, these are the Upanishads where we find references of yoga. Whatever we follow, whatever path we follow, in our Sanatan tradition, if this path, if you don't have mention of this paths in the Upanishads or in Bhagavad Gita or in the Brahma Sutras, then this is considered to be, illegitimate. But if they are there in the Upanishads or in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Brahma Sutra, then these paths are legitimate. That is why we find references of yoga in Kathopanishad. We find references of yoga in the Shweta Upanishad. So in the Kathopanishad, it says that, this self, what are we going to connect? We are going to connect with ourself, the self which we are. But whenever we talk about ourself, we talk about the mind. Whenever we talk about our identity, we talk about the body. Though we perhaps know that we are not the body. We perhaps, because we say it's our body, it's my hand, it's my legs. So when you say it's your hand, that means that hand is not you, it is yours. Means you are different from that. You are separate from that. It's my body, it's my hand, it's my legs, it's my head. So these are all mine. So I am there and the body is there. So, I am separate from the body. In the same way, we say my mind. We say my mind, my intellect, my ego, my thoughts, my happiness, my sorrow, my problem. All these are mine. Where is me? I don't find myself. I find everything which is mine, but I don't find myself. This me is always unmanifested. This me is the subject of yoga. This me is the subject of all philosophies. This me is called Atma. Like in the next one, in the next sutra, it says, Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. Swarupe, swarup, my nature. When you see him, then only you come, you come face to face with your nature. And when you come face to face with your real nature, then avasthanam, then you remain established. You remain, you stay there. Then you remain connected. You are established into your own nature. So there is something called nature, which is unknown to us. And that is why we need a understanding. We need an education. We need a proper education to reach at that point where we can say, this is my, this is my real nature. So, how is it possible? It's called, yoga means also practice. In case of Vedanta, it says that, you come to the master, you listen, about yourself from the master, and slowly you develop this perception. That is dharana. You develop this perception. You develop this perception that I am the self. When you can develop this perception, this will help you. So the first thing that we need to do is, when we are into the process of practicing yoga, when we are into the practice of, of connecting with the yoga, we should connect ourselves with yoga, or we should start this practice of yoga through this perception that I am not this body. I am the self. I am consciousness. And to know about my consciousness, to connect with that consciousness, to remain established into that consciousness is the goal of my practice. So this is the first thing, when we start our practice in this way, then only the real dharana starts. Because if you really want to reach the state of, samadhi, or if you want to really reach the state of yoga, then you have to start with this dharana, then dhyana, and then the last one is samadhi. So, today we are going to talk we are going to dwell more about this dharana part. How we can enhance this dharana. How we can, bring this idea more and more into our mind. How we can implant this idea more and more into our mind and remain firm in this idea that I am the self. The moment I can have this idea completely crystal clear in my mind that I am the self, then my reaching the state of samadhi becomes very easy. Though dharana is the first step, dharana is the most difficult step, because while you are trying to contemplate, while you are trying to contemplate, then only you face all the obstacles in the form of your sanskaras, that is your past impression. The way you used to think, they are going to create obstacles within your mind, not to enable you to think yourself as a state which cannot be manifested, which is not manifested at all, which cannot be seen, which cannot be contemplated, which does not have any form or name or attributes. So whenever you think about yourself to be something which is nameless, which is formless, which is attributeless, the first thing which you encounter is a very, very firm rejection from your own mind, because the mind is very, very used to think itself to be with name, with form, with attributes. So to to convince yourself that I'm not this is very difficult. So the part dharana is the most difficult among the whole, yoga practice. But if we can make this dharana very easy, if we can make this dharana, if we can be very adept to this process of dharana, then the next steps which we encounter, they also becomes very easy. Now, whenever we talk about yoga, it talks about practice. Practice. Like, I have to practice now, and, I have to practice now, and then I need to get the results. But is it possible for you to stay in the state of practice for the whole day? It is not possible. We practice either in the morning or in the evening. And while we practice in the morning and in the evening, we try to concentrate our mind. We try to, make some efforts. We try to do some asanas. We try to do some, kriya, asanas, kriya, or pranayama, or all the practices that are given to us, so that we can develop this, concentration. But this concentration only can be attained by us while we are in the state of practice. But, we cannot stay in the state of practice for the whole day. We need to go to work. We need to manage our families. We need to manage children, small kids. We need to manage people around us, our neighbors, our, social, we have got social commitments also. So in these cases, we see that we are in the state of complete distraction. And we try to long for, there is this tendency of a very deep longing to come back to this process of meditation, come back to this process of practice. And what I have seen is that there are many yogis, yogis or yoginis who gradually, they become cut off from their family, they become cut off from their society. But this is not the aim of yoga. And that is why we need to, discover ways by which we can stay with our job, we can stay with our social responsibilities, while at the same time, we can remain focused in our own practice. How it is possible? This is where Bhagavad Gita comes into, play. And that is why we have named this, understanding the Yoga Sutras in the light of Bhagavad Gita. Now, the first thing it says is Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Now, what does it mean? Yoga means when your mind does not undergo any modification and create thoughts, isn't it? Now, when your mind does not undergo any modification by creating any thoughts, that is, all this thought process, they get completely ceased. This is what we know. But, Vedanta gives us a broader aspect. Bhagavad Gita says, yeah, this is true, but it can also be looked into another way. It is not about cessation. It's not about, complete destruction of this, of this formation of thoughts from the mind. Or, it's not completely destruction of the mind getting into the state of modification. If I can have complete control over the mind, then even if the mind gets modified, then also it does not create any effect in me, isn't it? If I have complete control over, here it is important for me to seize or to arrest the process of the mind, getting modified. Why? Because this mind is not at all, in my control. That is why I want to stop this process of the mind to get into, to get modified, so that it does not create any thoughts, and these thoughts, this thought further does not create any other world or temptation by which I can be connected or I can be attached to those, and thus I go into the state of, Vikshipta, Shipta, Vikshipta, and Mura. This is what we all know, which we are going to, discuss. So if I can, gain control over this whole thing of the mind getting into modification, let the mind be modified, but it is under my control. It's, it doesn't happen without, which it doesn't happen, anything doesn't happen which is not, which is beyond my reach. Everything is under my reach, under my control, under my authority. So, how is it possible? How is it possible to make the mind, modified while it is under my control? So here it says, there is one verse in Bhagavad Gita. It says, Buddhir yukta jahatiha ubhe shukrite dushkrite. Buddhir yukta jahatiha ubhe shukrite dushkrite. Tasmat yogaya yujasva yoga karmashu kausalam. This is a verse which is kind of a very revolutionary verse, even in the field of Advaita Vedanta. Because Advaita Vedanta, it does not consider any action. It considers action to be completely opposite to knowledge. So, in case of Advaita Vedanta learning, action, knowledge starts when action is stopped. When the action is stopped, then only knowledge starts. But here Krishna has, again amalgamated action with knowledge. And thus he has created this new and very enriched philosophy, or very enriched, knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So here we can also, amalgamate it with yoga. It says, Buddhir yukta jahatiya ubhe shukrite dushkrite. Buddhi means knowledge. Yukta, that is, when I remain connected with knowledge. When I remain connected with knowledge, then what happens? I become separate from all my good and bad deeds. Why do I not want my mind to get modified? Because when my mind will get modified, it will create thoughts. What are these thoughts? These thoughts are, subtle actions, subtle karmas. The thoughts that the mind is going to create, they are the subtle karmas. And these subtle karmas, they are going to, be manifested into its gross form in the way of karma. And because the mind is, not always purified, so the subtle karma that are prepared, that are manifested, or that are created by the mind, they are also not purified. Sometimes they are good karmas, sometimes they are bad karmas. And because they create these, subtle karmas, subtle thoughts of good and bad karmas, thus these subtle good and bad karmas, they get manifested into this world as gross good and bad karmas. And because I am attached to these karmas, I am attached to the mind, and I'm attached to the karmas, I'm attached to this notion that I am the doer. I'm attached to the notion that I'm the doer. Because I'm attached to the doer, the notion that I'm the doer. That is why I have to face the effects or the results of good and bad karmas. And thus I go round and round into this world, not having, not coming anywhere close to yoga. So Krishna gives us a very beautiful way how we can work and not get associated or not get affected by its results. It says, Buddhir yukta jahatiha ubhe shukrite dushkrite. What is buddhi? Here buddhi means knowledge. What is knowledge? Knowledge means I am the self. This is knowledge. I am a mind. I am a name. I am a form. I am a body. I am a, I am this, I am that, whatever, these are all ignorance. Because you are not the body, it's your body. You are not the name, it's your name. You are not the attributes, these are all your attributes. Any kind of identification that you can associate with yourself, you will see these are all yours. They are not you. You are something else. Like, we have a bottle of plastic. When we see a bottle of plastic, we don't say it's a plastic. We say it's a bottle. In the same way, there are, plates which are made of plastic. We don't say it's plastic. What do we say? It's plates, it's glass, it's bottle. But what are they? They are all plastic. The main constituent of them is plastic. But this plastic is unseen when we see only the name and form. We see it as bottle, we see it as glass, we see it as plate, but these all are plastic. They are not different. They are all the same. The name and form are different, but the main constituent, the nature, the real entity is the same. In the same way, my attributes, my name, my form, these are all different. But my own nature, my own real nature, my own, entity, identity is the same, is one, and that is consciousness. Now it says, Buddhir yukta jahatiha ubhe shukrite dushkrite. When I work, how do I work? I work as if this is my work. And I am I'm the worker. I become the worker. When I'm working, I know that I'm the worker. I'm the one who is the doer of all the actions. I'm the performer of actions. But here, when I say myself to be the self, when I am the self, okay? Now, why do we perform actions? We perform actions because to fulfill our necessities, to fulfill our desires, to fulfill our wants. Because we have wants, we have desires, we have, incompleteness, we have necessities. And because we have necessities, we need to work. We need to work, and that is why we work, and that is why we say that we are the doer. Now, when I say, or when I perceive that I am the self, when I perceive that I am the self, it means that I am fulfilled. I don't have any necessity. When I work, when I perform actions, knowing that I am not the doer, but I am the self, what do I see? I see that the work that I perform becomes more and more effective. The work that I'm performing is becoming more and more blissful, peaceful, happy, joy, and fruitful. And fruitful. The fruits that I were reaping while performing actions, knowing that I am the doer, these fruits are much more inferior to the fruits that I am getting now. And at the same time, what is happening is that I am not getting attached to the effects of good and bad karmas, because I know that I am not the doer. So because I am not the doer, I don't get affected by the even the good karmas or the bad karmas. So here Krishna says, Buddhir yukta jahatiha ubhe shukrite dushkrite tasmad yogaya yujasva yoga karmashu kaushalam. Krishna says, you try to engage yourself into this yoga. Because you know what is yoga? Yoga means the skill of performing actions. If we can develop the skill of performing action is not by becoming a skilled labor or the skilled technician or a skilled technical person or a scholar. It's not about that skill. It's not about intellectual skill. It's not about mental or intellectual or physical skill. It's about spiritual skill. If it talks about the spiritual skill, it says, yoga means the skill of performing actions. So what is the skill of performing actions? The skill of performing action is this, that I have developed this notion that I am not the doer at all. I am not the doer at all. Who is the doer? The doer is the body. The doer is the nature. Then what am I? I am the observer. I'm the observer of every action that are happening through me. Why? Because I am the fulfilled self. I don't need to work. All these actions which are happening, these are happening through me. These are happening through this body. These are happening through this mind. This mind, body, intellect, ego, they are all part of nature. They are not me. They are not, my nature. I am, they are part of this external nature. They are not my nature. They are not my nature. They are not my identity. I am the self. I am the consciousness. And because I am the consciousness, I don't work at all. I am the observer of each and every work. And if I can, because I am the observer of each and every work, that is why I don't get attached to any work. I don't do any work. And because I don't do any work, I don't have any hankering after the results of my actions. And because I don't have any kind of attachment or hankering or thirst of acquiring the results of my actions, I am free from them also. So I am performing actions. I'm performing actions. I'm getting the results. All the results that I'm getting from these actions are all, auspicious. And I am not getting distracted at all. I'm not getting, I'm not getting disturbed at all. Because this action which I'm doing is also a practice. Because here I have to only maintain this concentration that I am the self. And let the mind, let the body, flow into the action. Flow into the action while I maintain my own, concentration into my own self. I maintain this concentration that I am the self. So, this is how we can, we can attain the state of dharana in a very beautiful way, in a very, clear way. If we can practice, if we can perform our actions, knowing that I am not the doer of these actions. I am the self, I'm not the performer. And the results of the actions are also not meant for me. So I don't get attached to the results of the actions also. Let the results of the action, be enjoyed by the people or by the one who have performed the actions. I have not performed the actions, and that is why I cannot enjoy the results of actions. If we can maintain, if we can develop this kind of tendency or focus, then we will see that each and every action that we do in our day-to-day life becomes a meditation, becomes dharana. And I start to feel very close to myself. I start to feel very close to my to my own existence, to my own nature, real nature. So that is what it says. Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. If I can always keep my concentration into this notion that I am the self, and perform each and every duty, each and every actions that I am supposed to do, I will see that though I am performing each and every actions, I'm not getting disturbed at all. I am always I'm always situated, established into my own self. Okay, so this is what I have to say. If you have any question, you can ask.
Thank you so much, Swamiji. That was a nice. That was the first time I was hearing that reconciling the two texts. So that was really interesting. If you all have a question, just please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask. Don't be shy.
I kind of have a question about how, or if they're related. So the Vedanta and the Bhagavad Gita was written before Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, correct?
Yeah.
So was the knowledge and information in the Bhagavad Gita used to inform Patanjali in his writing the Yoga Sutras, or not really?
Yeah, actually, when Patanjali has written this Yoga Sutras, so these Yoga Sutras, he has developed it according to the principles that has been given in this. It's not that the sutras or whatever Patanjali has written as Patanjali Yoga Sutra, they were all in these texts, and Patanjali just compiled them into sutras. It's not like that. They had this idea of that. They had this idea of yoga, and Patanjali developed this way. When he gave these 8 limbs of yoga, he developed a way by which you can come into this state. This particular thing that it says that this one that yogastha kuru karmani sangam tektva dhananjaya siddha siddho samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Like, this idea of yoga was always there. The idea of yoga was always there. Now, this yoga, somebody reached it through knowledge. Somebody reached it through meditation. Somebody reached it through actions. And Patanjali gave a way by which you can follow this, follow this Patanjali Yoga Sutra, and you can attain the state of yoga. So, the yoga which is described in Patanjali is not different from the yoga which is described in the Vedanta. It's the same yoga. What is that yoga? The yoga means to attain the state of super consciousness or samadhi. The meaning of yoga. The meaning of yoga is to attain this super conscious state of samadhi. Now, how to attain this? There are different paths, and Patanjali Yoga Sutra is one of them. So, though the idea was there in these spiritual texts, Patanjali developed this idea, and he gave a new way by which you can attain the state of yoga. Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. What is the state of the samadhi? Yeah, it's I don't know. What it's exactly feels like.
Can you be a little bit louder? I cannot hear.
Oh, you cannot hear me?
Yeah.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but still it's very poor. Anyway, I will try.
Okay. So what is the state of samadhi? It's like it's a state of stillness, or it's kind of feeling. So how to describe it more exactly, or more in more details? Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you. Who has asked this question?
Me, Heidi.
Oh, Heidi. Okay. Thank you very much. It's a very good question. samadhi. Samadhi means super conscious state. Okay. Now, what is called super conscious state? Like, we know about three states. One is conscious, one is subconscious, and the other is unconscious. Like this, this state where we are now is called conscious state. We are conscious about everything which is around us. We are conscious about our body. We are conscious about our mind. We are conscious about our intellect, our ego, our thoughts, everything. And as well as the external, external world. We are conscious about everything. So this is called the conscious state. Now then we move into the next state, which is called subconscious state. That is the state of, dream. When you start dreaming, that is called the state of subconscious. You start to, experience the subconscious mind, that mind which is not revealed to you, which is not manifested to you. It's always there in the background. So that mind, you start to see that. Okay, so that is called the subconscious mind. And then there is another mind, another state, which is called unconscious. When you go to deep sleep, a sleep which does not have any dream at all. So when I go into that state where I am sleeping, but I am not having any dream, that is complete, sound sleep, complete deep sleep, that state, I am not aware about anything. I'm not aware about myself, my body, my mind, my intellect, or anything which is around me, or where I am, how I am. It's completely blank. It's completely blank. So this state is called, unconscious state. So these three states, we dwell into these three states. One is conscious, one is subconscious, and the other is unconscious. Now, in these three states, what is happening is that, I am conscious. When I say I am conscious because of consciousness. Isn't it? I am talking to you. How I am talking to you? I am talking to you through a consciousness. Isn't it? You are listening to me. How you are listening to me? You are listening to me through your consciousness. When you understand what I'm trying to tell you, you are understanding that through your consciousness. So, I am talking through my consciousness. You are listening, you are understanding through your consciousness. In this way, we are, we in the conscious state, we are using our consciousness. But while we are using our consciousness, we are not conscious about that consciousness. We are always conscious about everything which the consciousness projects. The matter, the subjects, the objects. The consciousness is projecting the objects, the matter, the feelings, the emotions. And that is what we are all, aware of. We are not aware at all about the consciousness by which I am aware. I'm here, I'm sitting, and then I have hunger, and a thought comes, I am hungry. And the moment the thought comes, I start to feel hungry. That the whole thing, this whole hungriness, it starts to take over me. So how did this hungriness start to take over me? Because I am conscious that I am hungry. When I am hungry in my sleep, I don't feel that hunger. I may be hungry, but I am sleeping. So though I am hungry, though the body is hungry, but I don't feel. Why? Because there is no consciousness. So everything that we experience is because of consciousness, but we don't experience the consciousness at all. This is true for conscious state, this is true for subconscious state, and this is true for unconscious state. In these three states, we use the concentration, consciousness, but we are not aware about consciousness. Now, when we go to our master makes us aware that you are not these states. You are not this, you are not this, waking or dreaming or sleeping state. You are not these objects that you look around, that you experience, the objects, the worldly objects, or the mind, or intellect, or ego, or your body, or your senses, or your thoughts, or your memories, nidra, smriti, all this. You are not this. Who are you? You are that consciousness which is manifesting everything while it remains unmanifested. This is what the guru or the master, who makes you aware about that. He makes you aware about that. He says that, you know what? You are that consciousness. You are that consciousness by which you are, conscious about everything. But that consciousness is always unmanifested. Because that is unmanifested, you do not know him. You do not know that. You think that whatever you are knowing through that consciousness is you. But you are not that. You are this consciousness. Okay? So, samadhi is the state where I come face to face with that consciousness. In these three states, in waking state, in dreaming state, and in sleeping state, I am conscious about stuff other than consciousness. I am conscious about things which the consciousness is projecting. But in the state of samadhi, the consciousness is projecting consciousness. And I am aware not about the objects that the consciousness projects, but here in samadhi, I am aware about that consciousness which projects everything. Okay? And when I become aware about that, then I see that I am also that consciousness. I am not separate from that. I am also that consciousness, which is projecting me. That means I am always projecting myself. Okay, so I am also that consciousness. And when I know myself to be that consciousness, then I get mixed with that. So that is called this union. Union of the individual self with the supreme self or the universal self. But here, there was nothing called, universal, there is nothing called, individual self. Why? Because individual self does not exist. The only thing that really existed is this supreme self, which was always there. I could not see it because of ignorance. So in the state of samadhi, I come face to face with this fact that I am this consciousness, which is projecting everything, which is the substratum of everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for explaining.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So what you just explained, that is the goal of yoga? Is that the ultimate goal of yoga?
Yeah. Ultimate goal of yoga is to attain the state of samadhi. And this is not the ultimate goal of this yoga. This is the ultimate goal of every yoga. There are primarily four yogas. One is called Jnana Yoga, one is called Bhakti Yoga, one is called Karma Yoga, and this yoga is called Raja Yoga. There is an interesting thing that Krishna had said in the Bhagavad Gita, which you will like very much. Like a person who follows the path of knowledge is called Jnana Yogi, isn't it? A person who follows the path of karma is called the Karma Yogi, isn't it? So here Krishna says that, and the person who follows this Raj Yoga is called a yogi. Okay, he's called, a person who follows Patanjali Yoga Sutras or this path is called a yogi. Now Krishna says, what is these yogis? Who are these yogis? And what are their significance? He says, tapasvibho adhiko yogi. That is, these yogis who follow the path of Patanjali or this, or this Raja Yoga. These yogi who follow the path of, Raja Yoga, they are greater than those who are always, who are always engaged in various spiritual austerities. So there are many people who are engaged in various spiritual austerities. Yogis are greater than that. So it says, tapasvibhyo adhiko yogi. Jnanibhyopi matodhika. And Krishna says, according to me, these yogis are even better than or even greater than the people who follow the knowledge path. Understand? The people who are following the knowledge path, even they, these yogis are even better than them. Then it says, karmibhaschadhiko yogi. He says, people who follow the path of karma yoga, these yogis are even better than them. They are better than these karma yogis also. And then he says, tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. And he says, oh Arjuna, that is why I urge you to become a yogi. So, the goal of every yoga is to attain the state of, oneness with the divine. And this oneness of, attaining this oneness with the divine is called yoga. So you can attain it through knowledge, you can attain it through karma, you can attain it through bhakti, or you can attain it through, this Raja Yoga or Patanjali Yoga.
Thank you.
So any other question? So can we meditate for some? Huh?
I was going to say, does Patanjali talk about bhakti at all?
No, Patanjali, ultimately everything is the same. Ultimately, when you come to that state of samadhi, you see that everything is the same. But Patanjali mainly talks about yama. The first thing he talks about yama. Yama is discipline. That is ahimsa, asteya, satya, brahmacharya, and aparigraha. So these 5 is called yama. We can discuss, if you want, we can discuss it at length, this, what is called yama. Then he says the next thing is niyama. Niyama is, shocha, swadhyaya, santosha, tapa, and ishwar pranidhan. So this is called niyama. Then asan. Asan means the yoga postures. Then pranayama. You know that what is pranayama. Then pratyahara. Pratyahara means, stopping the, ahara. Ahara means food. That is not feeding your senses, not feeding your mind. It says that when you feed your mind or you feed your senses, they become uncontrollable. So there is a practice by which they stop feeding the senses, feeding the mind, feeding the intellect, feeding the ego. That is called pratyahar. So when you go through this 5, when you go through this 5, yama, niyama, asan, pranayam, and pratyahar, then you become so strong mentally, physically, and spiritually also. You become so strong, then you can easily contemplate your own self. Then the Guru tells you, you are the self. From here, Vedanta, Patanjali, everything is the same. The difference is in this, yama, niyama, asan, pranayam, and pratyahar. This is distinct from Vedanta. Vedanta does not talk about this. Vedanta says, Shravan, Manan, and Nididhasan. But, dharana is very, 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 very close to, or it is very similar to Manan. Dhyan means Nididhasan. and then samadhi. Samadhi is also the goal of Vedanta, and here also the same. So yama, niyama, asan, pranayam, and pratyahar. These, these five, is very distinct about Patanjali Yoga Sutra. From here, the Guru starts to tell him, you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the intellect, you are not the ego, you are the self. So here the Guru starts putting this, seed of knowledge within the mind of the yogi, after coming to the state of dharana. So then, after he puts this seed of knowledge into this mind of the yogi, then the Guru tells him, go and contemplate. Dhyana. Dhyana means, first of all, I have given you this. I've given you this. Now you start to, fix your mind into that. Now I've given you this idea. You are not this body, you are not this, this mind, you are not the intellect, you are not the ego. I've given you this idea. You are the consciousness. This is the idea that I've given you. Now you go and, concentrate your mind into this, and that is why, they call this, these 5 sheets of chitta. So in the 5 sheets of chitta, it's there that this shipta, vikshipta, mura, ekagra. So ekagra is also very close to dhyana, coming to the state of concentration, coming to the state of complete rest. And then when you come to this point of complete rest, when you come to this point of complete contemplation that I am the self, and you are at peace with this, then you reach to the 8th and the ultimate state, and that is called samadhi. So there are 2 kinds of samadhi basically. What Patanjali talks about. One is the sampragyata samadhi, and the other is the asampragyata samadhi. So these 2 samadhis, they depend upon the kind of or the extent of contemplation you had. If you had real very, very strong very, very strong contemplation, if your contemplation is very strong, very firm, then you are going to get this asampragyata samadhi. That is, you are going to reach the ultimate state of unity with the self, where your own individuality that you have now, which you say I, your own individuality will be completely dissolved into the state of this this consciousness. And when you come back as that consciousness. So that is called the asampragyata samadhi. But if your contemplation is not so strong, if you are if you have this mixture, if you have impurities there, though you have contemplated a bit that I am the self, you could not completely hold this idea that I am the self only. You also had a very faint idea that I also am the body, I'm the mind also, and you kept a little bit of mind into yourself. We keep things secretly. So there are people who keep this little bit of mind with them. They don't want to give up everything. They don't want to completely dissolve every part of the mind into the consciousness. They keep a little bit fearing, if I go and mix it with consciousness, maybe I'm going to lose my own identity, which is not possible at all. So in these cases, they reach the state of sampragyata samadhi. That is, they also know the self, but not completely. It's like we start our journey towards the sun. We start our journey towards the sun, like within 10 or 15, spaceships. So there are certain spaceships which, after going up to like Venus or Mercury, they stop. They can go further. They say, no, we cannot go further. We cannot approach. We are fine here. We can see the sun from here. It's fine. I don't want to go and get mixed into the sun. But there are others who says, no. Sun can be only contemplated when seen from the sun. So I need to go and mix into the sun. I need to go and land up in the sun. And they forget about this, they don't care if they're going to die or not. So they go and land into the sun and they don't die. They come back, immortals. They don't die. So when you go and get mixed into the, ocean of consciousness, though while you're approaching, this thought may come to you that if I go and get completely dissolved into the ocean of consciousness, maybe I'm going to losing myself. I'm going to lose myself. I'm going to lose my identity. But this doesn't happen. When you come back, the same person comes back being immortal. So you don't lose yourself. You lose that which you are not at all. Which you are not. So that is what you lose. So this is the difference between, these two samadhis.